Welcome to This Week in the PNFL. I'm your host, Mark Hill, and as usual, we have Mitch Grawl and Dean Chambers with us this evening. How we doing tonight, guys?
Very good.
Yeah, doing great. Just that I'm not Mitch Chambers this time.
Yeah. See there, I'm gonna do. I think you like it when I do that. Just kind of throw you off. It makes fun for the blooper reel. So yeah, definitely. So we are at the midway point of this season, and there are some teams that are doing what they always do. There are some teams that are surprisingly stepping up. There are some teams that are doing what everyone else expected them to do, and some that are scratching their head thinking that they should have been doing much better than what they thought they were going to do going into the season. So we're going to go through all of that in our middle segment to see the state of the league at the halfway turn. And in addition to cover all the games that we just went through, and as usual, our picks and predictions for the upcoming week. So, if you guys are ready, we are going to jump right into this and get this thing kicked off. First game that we have on the list, we have Jacksonville hosting New York, and New York just continues to keep doing what they always do. Mac Jones ended up being player of the game as New York walked away with a 41-6 victory. We are going to start this show off with Mitch.
All right. Well, just when you thought Jacksonville had figured it out, they got all the rules, correct. They understood what all the slashes and semicolons meant on the website, and you thought, all right, I think they've got it together. They've won a few in a row. And then New York reminded them that no. They still run the AFC East. Big game there for the New York offense. 400 plus yards for Mac Jones and 4 TDs. How he didn't win Player of the Week? Player of the Week. I guess we'll talk about that when we get to the San Francisco game because Mac Jones has won Player of the Week with a lot less stats than that. Hey, kind of not something you didn't expect. So good game for the Jets.
All right. Dean, what do you got?
Yeah, I think once again the Jets did everything right and did everything extremely well. They had more yards of offense, more first downs, 10 of 16 on third downs. Jones passed for 4 touchdowns and no interceptions. They had no turnovers. They even won the time of possession. I don't know that Jacksonville won anything other than having more return yards, which is commonly true of the team that loses. Jacksonville punted 7 times. The Jets only punted twice. There's no way you can win a game doing what Jacksonville did in this game. So, this was – and oddly enough, this was the one game because my picks this past week were atrocious. And, when I saw this game still left to be played, I thought, well, surely the Jets are going to win and cover as I predicted. I'm at least going to get one game right against the spread. And sure enough, I guess if you wanted to because I know between the three of us we don't do that, but if you wanted to make lead pipe lock picks and make the safest, most of these weeks you just say the Jets are going to win lead pipe lock, and but that's too easy to do, obviously, because look at this game as an example.
Yeah.
I still say that at least the vast majority of the other 17 of us, to be more successful, we need to do more of what the Jets are doing and less of what we're currently doing.
Yeah, because currently we are definitely doing something wrong if we can't achieve that excellence right there. So, definitely.
Yeah, I agree. I think we all should probably score more points and give up fewer. I agree.
Yes. Next game, we have San Francisco hosting Indy, and this one went into overtime with San Francisco walking away with a 34-28 victory. Dean.
Yeah, I can see why the player of the week was chosen this way. Burrow passed for 5 touchdowns. So 4 by Jones was enough. You have to hit 5 touchdown passes. But yeah, this was a close game, and ultimately the overtime decided it. But you look at the stats, San Francisco was much stronger overall, 400 passing yards, 406 to 134 for Indianapolis. And although Indianapolis had a pretty good running game going, but it was enough to take the game into overtime. But the 49ers dominated that overtime.
Dean, what do you got? I mean, Mitch.
There you go again.
There, I
There
didn't
you
want to
go.
disappoint you.
I know. And here's the thing that jumps out, and other teams will see this. You'll usually see this out of the Jets, Cardinals, maybe a few others here and there. But San Francisco, threw 40 attempts, 26 completions, 406 yards. There are times where I've seen teams that have 45 plus attempts, 30 plus, completions, and barely have over 200 yards because it's all this, screen pass and the dink and dunk. Charlie was getting the ball down the field. I mean, they had
Yeah,
26
he was chunking it.
completions for 406 yards. I mean, that's how you move the ball, right? So nice job there for Charlie going against his traditional um, tendency, for at least for the times I've been around. So nice job for San Francisco.
Yes, indeed. Next game, we have New England hosting LA, and I guess the dominoes are starting to tumble in New England as Los Angeles walked away with a 28-20 victory. Mitch.
Well, same thing, right? Look at Los Angeles, 28 attempts, 15 completions. Now, I'll say most teams in our league, 15 completions. All right, well, maybe that's 100, 150 yards. Not here. You got 357 yards. I mean, this huge there for. I mean, just look at New England, right? 25 completions for less than 300 yards. So not all 300-yard games are created equal. So anyway.
Dean.
Yeah, this is a pretty solid effort overall by the Chargers. Good passing game, uh, effective passing, as Mitch noted. It's just interesting that they were favored by 8.5 by Rich's Sportsbook, and what do? They win by 8. They miss it so many times. I pick games against the spread, and these spreads are really close sometimes, and think that they're going to win and cover the spread, and they miss it by the half point. And this was an instance of that, but nonetheless, it was an important win for Steve's team, and they did get that win, and it's important because they're competitive in their division.
All right. Next game up, we have the New York Giants hosting Minnesota, and the Giants walked away with a 34-28 victory. Dean.
Yeah, this game I didn't expect. I was expecting Minnesota to win this game, but the Giants showed up to play, and they pulled off the upset. And as to how they did it, well, third down efficiency 8 of 9, and they added one fourth down. In other words, the one third down they didn't make, they picked that up on fourth down. So that's like being 9 of 9 on third down efficiency. That's pretty tough to beat, and 453 yards overall. And I think that's ultimately what made the difference.
Mitch.
Well, besides my team, that's where I think the most, hard to predict team is Minnesota. I thought that their defense would play better, but even this season, you look at some of the stats, and maybe I just wasn't paying attention, but Minnesota has definitely been giving up yards this year, and the Giants do tend to play pretty good on the offense, from week to week. So I guess I shouldn't have been surprised, but um, well, congratulations to the Giants. Kind of keeping their season above water right now.
Okay. Excuse me. Sorry. Sorry about that.
I think we all got a little bit of something. I know I've got a little bit of a uh, frog in my throat tonight. So
Yeah, I think
yeah,
it's the
sounds like we
sign. I think
yeah
it's that time of the year.
yeah
Sinuses are changing. So, Dean,
yeah.
what
I
do
had to
you have?
put you on mute quite a bit so that you don't hear all the noise here.
Yep,
Yeah.
I'll be hitting that pretty soon. Dean, you're up.
Yeah, if I remember, it didn't all three of us pick Pittsburgh to win this game?
I
Yes,
think
we
we picked
did.
them to win by a lot too. So yeah.
Yes, we did.
Yeah, I think we all picked Pittsburgh to win and cover the spread. And I think what happened is Shuggy has kind of re-examined some of what he's doing and revamped his offense and improved his defense a bit and played very well on both sides of the ball here. And especially if I remember it, the second half really dominated the game. And I expected Pittsburgh to be tougher than this. And statistically, it wasn't even close. I mean, look at the total yards, 438 to 197. And the time of possession, 37 minutes and 12 seconds for the Rams. And this is a pretty solid win overall in the score and the stats and everything overall. Haskins completed 72% of his passes. He did throw two interceptions, but the defense prevented Pittsburgh from gaining much advantage on those turnovers.
Yep.
I know. Just when I was bragging on Pittsburgh, they go and do this. What? I mean, golly. But yeah, I think Dean, you said the even statistically the game wasn't close. Even on the scoreboard, the game wasn't close. 21-point win for Anaheim, which I think Anaheim went 3 weeks. I don't even think they scored 21 points, much less beat someone by 21 points. So yeah, I think old Shug here maybe. Maybe he's figuring out a few other things too, and maybe his second half of the year will look more like his first 3 weeks of the year. We'll see.
I think we're going to be seeing that.
Possibly. Next game, we have Kansas City hosting Vegas. I think we had figured it'd be a much more higher scoring affair, but it was definitely low scoring on this one. With Kansas City taking this one 14-9. We're going to start with Dean and then move over to the coach.
Yeah, this game is mostly defense. I'm looking at something that's kind of interesting. Kansas City punted 7 times. Las Vegas punted 4 times. And if you looked at that stat alone, you think the team that punted 7 times lost? Well, they're the team that won 14-9. And it looks like they did that by having two scoring opportunities and putting them both in the end zone, whereas Las Vegas scored the 9 points. Yeah, it was all field goals. So Kansas City wins a close defensive struggle here simply because they're able to score more touchdowns when they had the opportunity to do so, whereas Las Vegas had 3 scoring drives, all field goals. If those have been touchdowns, you'd be looking at a 21-7, 21-14 game, and that would reflect the statistics more, but it doesn't. So, the red zone offense is very effective. Kansas City did it to the extent that they scored twice. The Raiders did not.
All right. Coach, talk about your team.
I'll go and I'll point out, just what I said before. I had 17 completions for under 170 yards. Terrible, terrible. If you're gonna only complete 17 passes, you gotta do something besides that dink and dunk business. So, gotta talk to my coordinator about that a little bit. But it always makes you feel proud when the player of the game is your backup defensive tackle. That just lets you know the depth on your roster chart is must be something special when the backup defensive tackle can win that player of the game. So we'll take it. I mean, we'll take it, and we'll get ready for our big showdown against Los Angeles this upcoming week.
And the Raiders only rushed for 21 yards, and their leading rusher was at quarterback with 9 yards.
Well,
That's
they only attempted 9 rushing attempts, so let's be fair. So,
that's part of the problem.
yeah, yeah,
They passed 48 times.
yeah, yeah. And it goes back to what I said before, right? You could have 48 pass attempts for 300 yards, but if you only gain 300 yards, was that big of a deal? So.
Okay. Next game we have Detroit hosting Atlanta. And just like one of the other hosts on this show, Atlanta is having some woes going on as Detroit ended up taking this game 30-16. Mitch.
Well, I think we're used to seeing the defense for Atlanta sometimes forget to get on the bus to the stadium, but this time it looks like the offense is the one that maybe didn't get on the bus this time. Tough tough game for the Atlanta offense, and unfortunately they were that left their defense kind of hanging out to dry out there a little bit. So when the other team has 73 plays versus your own 45 plays, yeah, by the fourth quarter, the Falcons were plucked. Yeah, they were pretty plucked by the time the fourth quarter got around. So I don't know, Dean, what happened?
You're being charitable, Mitch. Neither the offense nor the defense got on the bus. I mean, it was clear early in the game the defense wasn't stopping anything. The Detroit scored and made a 2-point conversion. They were up 8-0. They did it again. They were 16-0. Then they had a field goal. It was 19-0. And then finally, my offense woke up and scored. It was 19 and went for the 2 as well. It was 19-8. And then it wasn't the defense, but it was a turnover by the Detroit offense that led to my team getting the ball again and then scoring another touchdown, 2-point conversion. It was 19-16. But keep in mind, up at that point, there'd been no defense by my team, 0. And then the rest of the game was all Detroit, where neither my offense nor my defense showed up. But it's still primarily the lack of defense, because as Mark and I were discussing at the beginning of the show, if your defense isn't even if your defense, I mean, between the two, by the second half, it all falls apart. If you can't play offense well, or you can't play defense well enough, it just completely falls apart. And that's what happened here. Went from 19-16 to Detroit scoring 11 more points, a touchdown, 2 points, and a field goal, and no answer to any of that score in the second half.
Yeah, I got to agree with you from that conversation that we had pre-show is that if, as you'll find out in one other game, defense stood up and did what they need to do, but if you don't have the other side of the ball working, it's for naught. Or as you see in the real NFL, if the other team isn't doing, if the other side of the ball, if your offensive boys aren't doing their job, defense just gets fed up and says, you know what, I can't do this anymore, and they just walk off and say, what the heck? So can't do it anymore. So they just give it up, and that's what we run into. So next game, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, and the difference between a team like Washington and Detroit, Detroit has kind of traded for some couple wide receivers and a new quarterback. They're kind of getting their offense together. And they scored 30 points on my defense, and Washington scores 49 points against the same defense, and that's you can kind of measure that as well.
Yep. Next game we have Chicago going into New Orleans to take on the Saints and walked away with a close one possession, 21-14. Mitch.
Yeah, I think we all thought this was going to be a pretty close game, or at least a pretty competitive game, and it turned out to be just that. Interesting enough, Clayton Thorson, the quarterback for New Orleans, ended up winning Player of the Game, even though obviously Chicago won the game by a touchdown. But you start going down through through the stat list and from some of the highlights and whatnot, and this really could have been. I mean, it really was could have gone either way out there. Um, I will say that New Orleans did not take advantage of the extra turnover that Chicago gave them. Otherwise, this could have been out there it could have been a much different game, I think.
Dean.
Yeah, I think the biggest difference in this game was the Chicago running game. And what Chicago does is they kind of spread the ball, giving several running backs carry, so it's not like one running back really dominates it. Because if one running back had scored most of that 172 rushing yards, that person would have and should have been the player of the game. I mean, it's hard to argue the two quarterbacks. Darnold threw an interception, but I still don't like the idea, unless it's a real dominating performance in a close game, that the losing quarterback is the player of the game. That just doesn't seem to make sense, because the winning quarterback is the one who led his team to victory in the game, or someone on that team. If a defensive player had like 3 interceptions for Chicago, I mean, that didn't happen in this game. Might be a player of the game, but yeah, the biggest difference here is the running game by Chicago. That gave them the edge in time of possession, and that gave them the edge in third down conversions, and that's probably what made the difference here. Despite that extra turnover that Mitch mentioned, Chicago ends up winning a close, tough game on the road, and that may have decided, it possibly could have decided the division between these two.
Mm. We have seen games before where the other team loses, or the player from the losing team ends up getting player of the game. I mean, we've seen that before, so it's
Right.
not uncommon.
I think four of my victories, the opposing quarterback got player of the game. So I think it is. I think that's my 5. I think 4 of my player of the games have been the opposing quarterback.
Mm.
So.
Last game that we have for week 8, and as much as I hate to
I thought
talk,
we were done. I thought that was it, Mark. I thought we were just going into the second.
hey, we can do that.
Segment.
We can do that, but I don't want to do. I don't want to do.
Jerry might be upset if we don't talk about.
I don't want to leave our
game.
guest. I don't want to leave our guest Jerry. That which I think. I want to thank him again. I think he did an outstanding job in the middle segment. Being on the show, but he called it. He said you got to put up 30 points to beat him, and I didn't even come close to 30 points as the Washington Redskins hosted the Seahawks, and not only did the Seahawks lose, they got blanked, and not only did they get blanked, it looks like the defense showed up, but the offense did not, and as Dean mentioned earlier, if the offense doesn't show up, eventually the defense is going to get tired and just give up. And this is a prime example of what happened as Washington walked away with a 26-0 victory. Dean.
Yeah, this is certainly a tough loss for the Seahawks. I think Washington, it's cliche now that we keep saying this, but Washington may be on a mission this year, and they're looking very solid, and they're playing very well on both sides of the ball, and you can see that in this game. There's some pretty good offense. The passing was effective, 133 yards of rushing. For Seattle, certainly a lack of effective running game, and the passing didn't fare too well either. And what I was saying in a pregame discussion is that when your defense plays pretty tough in the first half, but your offense just doesn't get it done, your defensive players are playing too many minutes and getting tired. And by the time the second half comes around, if your offense still isn't performing, there's little the defense can do. And, that's what leads to a shutout game like this. It just all falls apart in the second game. I mean, my team was basically shut out in the second half against Detroit, and this happened to Seattle in this game as well. Um, it's it's tough, and it happens, and I don't know what else to say.
There's nothing else. Mitch.
Well, I think I can just sum this up pretty quickly, and we can get on to the second segment. Washington's pretty good, and Seattle is not. So that pretty much sums it up for this game, I think. So I think we can move on to the second segment.
Yeah, let's go ahead and jump ship. So,
All right.
moving over into the middle segment, we are discussing as we are at the halfway point in this season. We're gonna go over the standings from everybody and talk about. I guess we can kind of keep it on a little positive note and see where the top teams are and seeing where everything is shaking out, who's a surprise, and where you think they're gonna end up at the end of the season. So, I think we're gonna go ahead and start this one off with Mitch to get his take on it. For you, let's see. I
Yeah.
don't know if you want to talk about the NFC side and then
I'll just
have
talk about
Dean.
everybody.
Okay, yeah,
I'll
we'll
just
talk about
talk about
everybody.
everybody and
Okay,
everything.
cool, good enough.
No, because I was actually looking at some of the stats that are out there, and um, not getting. I don't know. I thought it was pretty interesting. Looking at some of the midseason stats, particularly first downs and third downs and all this kind of stuff, and it is pretty interesting if you start like dissecting into some of that stuff about how teams that seem to be performing well, and we've touched on this in some of the calls, but how teams that are performing well or have above 500 records tend to be ones that have fewer third down play calls and tend to have more third downs plays against them, that are out there, and that holds true now. And so I won't get all of it here, but I encourage you to go out and take a look at some of this third down data, and if you haven't really dug into it, it might surprise you about, wow, okay, well, no wonder this particular team's defense is, you know, bad at X or gives up a lot of points because no teams barely ever get the third down on. So if that's the
Hmm.
case, so, but I thought that's pretty interesting. But there's a lot of cool things going on this first half of the year. I mean, the Jets are still doing well, coming off their Super Bowl win. So I mean, I don't think anyone's shocked with that. I think Chicago found themselves a little bit of a race, though knocking off New Orleans for the second time this season. Both tight games, both one-score games, by the way. I think Dean, you said it. I think that might have, barring a collapse by Chicago, that you know, probably ties up that division. But you never know. I mean, it's still a one, barely a two-game lead based on the tiebreaker out there. But surprised that Anaheim is 4-4. I know they've been a little streaky. Started off 3-0, then went 0-4. Now just had their biggest win of the season, at least as far as the spread goes. And so, um, we'll see what they got the second half of the season. I don't, we'll see. I know I've already played them, so I don't have to worry about them. But that'll be interesting to see. Uh, don't know what to expect out of that Eastern Division for the NFC. I mean, Washington obviously is 8-0, and they've won the division. Might as well just go ahead, yeah, say they've won the division here because I doubt they're going to lose 8 games in a row here. So Washington's basically won the division, and so now it's can anyone else in that division get a winning record. I know that last year that wasn't the case. I know New York got to the playoffs with an 8-8 record, but um, we'll see. I don't know. 8-8 might be the next highest record in that division again, and so uh, if that's the case, maybe they get somebody in the playoffs. Maybe not. Because you got New Orleans and San Francisco, and the wild card of Anaheim. They could all be going 8-8, 9-7. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see how that goes. But Washington definitely has that division locked down. Um, AFC is geez, this is just a spaghetti mess up
Always
here. Unless
is.
you're in unless you're in the AFC East, I mean that one's done. But the AFC West, I mean, my goodness, what a what a jam packed this thing is.
It's always
I
been a
mean, you could really,
dogfight. It's always been a
I mean,
dogfight.
yeah. I mean, at this point, flip a coin. I mean, flip a coin. I mean, who knows? Maybe Pittsburgh. Maybe that was just an aberration against Anaheim because they have been playing much better this season. But between L.A., KC, Pittsburgh, Minnesota, I mean, I would tend to think that L.A. and KC are maybe a little bit further along, but I mean, the way I watch my team, come out and play some weeks, I mean, who knows? Who knows? But it should be interesting to see how that division um, all falls out. And I have no idea outside of the Jets who, if anyone, will make the playoffs out of the AFC East. I think this year you might have three teams coming from the West. Um, because I don't know if they'll get a team out with a 500 record out of the East besides the Jets. But we'll see. We'll see. Dean, what do you think?
I'm going to start with that so-called pretty good Washington team. They're 8-0 and dominant, like I said. I think they're on a mission. And it is interesting to note that they're 6-0 home and 2-0 on the road. So they're going to play 6 road games the second half of the season, but I think they'll win at least half of those and win their other 2 home games. So the worst I could see Washington doing is 13-3, and that will win the division. I think we'll have a little bit of a battle between the Lions and Giants to see who will be second place, and I don't know either one of them will make a playoff. Chicago, as you mentioned, based on the tiebreaker, basically has a 2-game lead over the Saints, and I think between San Francisco and Anaheim, one of those teams has a chance of getting in, and the other one doesn't. I'm not sure which one it's going to be, but if last week's game is any indication, I think the Rams will have an edge over the 49ers in the second half of the season. So you might be looking at Washington, Chicago, New Orleans, and Anaheim being the 4 playoff teams. In the AFC, the AFC East is clearly being dominated by the Jets. Whether New England wins enough games in the second half of the season to break through and score one of those wildcard spots remains to be seen. It's interesting when you look at the AFC West, all of those teams have given up more points than they've scored except for Kansas City. Kansas City is 182 to 171. The rest of the teams, including the Chargers, have allowed more points than they've scored, and that's something to pay attention to because 2 or 3 of those teams may make the playoffs, but, the playoffs themselves are like starting a new season, and in the past, the Chargers, of all those 5 teams, the Chargers have proven be the team more likely to beat the Jets in postseason. Otherwise, you might be looking at the AFC being represented by the Jets again, and you could easily have Chicago or Washington. If I had to pick right now, this is a Washington versus Jets Super Bowl that we're looking forward to. But, that predictions don't always come true. That's why we actually play the games.
This is true.
What's your take?
Well, what I see right now is I think I agree with you guys both. New York is definitely they're already in. You might as well go ahead and just pencil them in right now. We all know how they handle their season. As far as out in the West, it is going to be a coin flip between LA and Kansas City. Both of them are top tier teams, and it's going to be curious to see who's going to end up winning that division. Whoever doesn't win the division, they will definitely get one of the wild card spots. So I already project two of the playoff positions going to come out from them, from the West Division. Now that final spot, if New England picks it up and pushes again, starts, they're on what is it, 4 game losing streak. If they can stop the bleeding and turn around, they may have a chance. If not, I could definitely see Pittsburgh trying to sneak in there at 4-4. Um, I don't know about Minnesota. There is time, but I don't know. But it all depends on what New England's going to do. Um, as you mentioned earlier, Dean, Pittsburgh has given up more points than they've scored. New England on the other side, they have 206 points for, with 186 against. So if they can figure this thing out and stop the bleeding, I could see them taking the fourth spot. Over in the East, on the NFC side, yeah, we can go ahead and pencil in Washington. Go ahead and start getting the brackets set to help. Go ahead and plug them in. Um, on the West side, I would say I'd give it to Chicago. New Orleans, San Francisco, and Anaheim, that could be a toss up. Detroit, also a toss up as well. But I think the one of the playoff spots is, I would say, New Orleans. Um, my guess, the last one will either go to San Francisco or Anaheim. Um, I mean, I don't. Again, just like over on the other side, Detroit has given up more points than they've scored. It's like what, almost a 30-point differential between the two. So it's well, New Orleans and San Francisco, they're all in the same boat as well. San Francisco is only a 5-point differential. New Orleans is what, three up on three. So I don't think Detroit's going to get it unless they find a way to slow them down on the defensive side. I think we've proven in the past, I think you guys have mentioned in the past also, if the team puts up, if you score more points than what you give up, you're in good shape. But if it's upside down, even though you may make it to the playoffs, you're not going to last long. So, any other comments on that? Am I right? Am I wrong? Or you guys have anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, I think between the three of us, we're all kind of pretty close to agreeing on a lot of this, and I think I think what you said is correct.
Yep. Mitch.
No, it, I, heck, I don't know. I think that every year we come into the year, there's usually, minimum of 4 teams that, all right, they're going to get to the playoffs one way or the other. And then it really comes, all right, what other 4 teams are going to kind of jump up and make a stand for that year, right? Some more consistent than others. And so, I think, you know, I don't think that's any different this year. I think we've got those 3 or 4 teams that everyone absolutely expected to be where they're at, and then and then it's all right. Well, let's see who else is going to step up and make the playoffs. So,
Yeah,
we'll
it
see
could
what
be
the second half of the year is going to look like.
the Rams and Steelers are the new teams to join the playoff party this year.
Yeah, could be.
At the
Could
expense
be.
of, let's see, Indianapolis made it last year, and
Yeah, the Giants made that last year.
yeah, that would be at their expense.
Yeah, so we'll see, but this should be interesting. I mean, other than you know, a, a few situations, there are a lot of teams that are within 1 or 2 games of each other. So the second half of the year, lots at stake for a lot of teams. I don't think unless you're in Washington, the Jets, or Well, Washington, unless you're Washington or the Jets, I don't think you can take any game for granted. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
And then we have four teams that only have one or two wins.
Yeah.
Can't forget about that.
Well, I didn't want to call you guys out, but it's
Well, no, I mean, those teams, those teams are still trying too. They're just not
yeah, yeah.
doing as well. I mean, all 18 teams are trying. It's not.
Oh yeah.
It's
Oh
no.
yeah. Nobody's saying that, but some are having more success than others right now.
Yeah, I think in past seasons we've known that certain teams are like just mailing it in, and I don't think anyone's doing that right now.
Yeah, I know. Well, yeah, no. If in the past, if I'd have seen a team that was 1-7, I'd have been emailing Rich, going, "Hey, do we even need this team in the league?" I mean, my gosh, but
Yeah,
I
yeah,
know.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I know that Mark. He's like trying harder than half the teams that have a 500 record this year. I guarantee it.
Hey, no, I thought you were doing better to not be engaging this kind of trash talk.
Hey, I'll take it. Hey, look, when you're sitting down there that low, you expect it. I'd probably be relegated
Hey,
at this
Mark.
point. So
Hey, Mark. You're the best 1-7 team in the league right now.
yeah,
Don't forget
yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah. Whatever.
You're the
All right.
toughest 1-7 team there
Temptation,
is.
temptation, temptation. You gotta resist temptation.
Uh huh.
You know,
Yeah,
Uh,
he's having a field day, and I'm not at a position where I can battle him. So
uh,
I gotta take my lumps now. While hey, like Dion said, you might get me now while you can. I guess I don't know.
yeah.
that's
Uh,
right. Yeah.
yeah. All right, we're gonna move on
It
over
ain't gonna
to
be that way in the future.
do I
It ain't gonna
now?
be that. It ain't gonna be that way in the future.
No,
You
no.
know, next year, and years after, don't count on my team giving anyone 49 points.
Yeah. Hey, we all have that outlook, and it's just a matter of I don't know. I just moving on. I'm not gonna dwell on it. Moving on. So as we go into week 9, couple games I see here showing some interest. We do have a pick'em game. Um, I think there could be some upsets out here, but we're gonna see how everything shakes out. We got our lead pipe lock, and we have our information from the Rich Sporting Books. I don't have the numbers updated for us this season, but you guys see it on the screen, so you guys will see it as we go through there. And we'll have more information as we're doing this early on in the week. Still got to get all the other numbers crunched and updated. So as we go into week number 9, we start out with the New York Jets going up against Pittsburgh. Rich Sporting Books is giving the Jets, surprisingly enough, they are giving them 10.5 to start this out. So, with that being said, I'm going to spin the little lucky wheel here, and we are going to start with Mitch.
Hi, great. Well, Jets are going to win. I mean, I have no doubt about that. How motivated they are, uh, I don't know. I mean, after watching the Pittsburgh get beat by Anaheim pretty handily, I don't know how much energy the Jets are going to put into this one. But so I think it actually could be under the 10.5. But I'll take the Jets to win.
Okay. Dean.
I think Pittsburgh has shown some improvement this season, and is still a bit unpredictable. But that being said, the Jets are the Jets, and they don't ever lack motivation, or they don't mail it in. Jets are going to win and cover.
All right. I'll keep it simple. I'm going for the Jets also. Nothing
I
more to say on that.
apologize. I thought I was on mute when I had that abrasive cough right into the
Ah,
microphone.
okay. Well, I don't know. After the way you sat there and bashed my team, I don't know if I'm gonna give you a pass or
I
not.
don't know how
But
that might have cut off part of Dean's prediction, so I apologize.
mhm. right, I'm
I
taking the
think I
Jets
think
on
if I
this
heard him
one.
correct, everybody, Dean has picked Pittsburgh for the upset. Just in case you didn't.
Yeah, right. I don't think so.
Snip said
I don't think so. So
Jets with
next game we have New Orleans hosting New England. I would say that this is a very very big game for New England, as we talked in the middle segment. But they are giving New Orleans 6.5 and picking the Saints. Dean, you're up.
well, given how competitive the division is, and they certainly at least want to win the wild card and maybe stay in pace to have a shot at winning the division. I think the Saints will be highly motivated. I think the Patriots will try to improve things, but it won't be enough. And once again, I'm predicting that the favorite team wins and covers here, and that would be the Saints. It's just 6.5. They'll win by a touchdown. We'll
All
cover
right,
that.
Mitch.
Yeah, I agree with Dean. I think New Orleans wins this game, and I think they'll win it by that touchdown. And um, I just think they're just a yeah. I hate to say a team made up of computer numbers and stuff. A team is tough or whatever, but I don't know what it is. There's something about the way New Orleans plays. They just play tough. And so I think they'll tough their way through and get a touchdown victory.
Okay. Well, um, I understand where both of you guys are going. I understand the Rich Sporting Books point where he's giving it, but I think I'm going to go in a different direction. I think that being that this is pretty much a do or die game for New England, I think Coach Mox is really going to dig down and try to figure something out here. And I am going to take New England going against the grain. I'm going to take New England as an upset this week. I'm not going to throw it down as a lock, even though I want to, but nah, screw it. I'm going to give them a lock. I'm calling for the major upset.
You gonna put a lead pipe on this one?
I'm going to put a lead pipe on this one. I'm calling for a major upset.
It's
Don't
your
let me
retirement, so
don't let me down, Mox. I'm leading them right now in lead pipe blocks for the season. So I'm putting that golden lead pipe lock on. Let me see where I'm at right now because I thought I was undefeated. Did I? Nope. Because I gave one to Atlanta last week, and Atlanta killed my lead pipe lock. So, all right. Well, you know what, Mox, you gotta put me back on the map. So, I am going for New England in a major, major, major upset this week. So, next game we have Indianapolis hosting Jacksonville. They are giving Indianapolis 4.5 and picking Indy. Mitch, what do you got?
I'm going to take Indy. I think Indy's going to win. I think they're going to play well. Taking Indy.
All right, Dean.
Yeah, the Colts need this game badly to save their season, and you know what? Although Jacksonville surprised us once or twice, they've not done so well several times. Yeah, I think Indianapolis wins and covers the spread on this one.
All right, I will concur on that. I'm going to go with Indy on this one as well. Like you said, sometimes Jacksonville will show up, but you don't know what you're going to get from week to week. And Indy really needs this to try to keep pace. Next game, we have LA hosting Kansas City. I do believe this could be considered the game of the week. Right now, they are giving LA 3.5. Dean, what do you have?
Yeah, in a close, tough game between two rival teams, division rivals, and teams that have made the playoffs lately most of the time. I think the edge goes to the team with the better quarterback, and that would be the Chargers. And it's a small 3.5 point spread. I see a win by like maybe 5 or 6 here by the Chargers, so they're going to win and cover.
All right, Mitch.
Yeah, if I get the mute button here. Try not to cough on all y'all. But no, I mean, this should be another classic. I will say it's getting a little bit irritating. I think Steve's gotten me at least the last three in a row here between the three of us. So I've got to get that thing turned around. Playing in Los Angeles, that means no rain. So that's always a plus. Though I'll have to deal with that neutral Los Angeles crowd. No, looking forward to it. It'll be fun. It'll be tough. It always is. And I gotta have it. So I'll take my team to the victory. But it is not going to be easy, regardless. See the way it goes.
Um, I think this could have been listed as a pick'em game because both teams I think are evenly matched. Definitely with the quarterback plays, probably a slight edge over to the LA side, but as far as the preparation and play calling, Mitch has proven time and time again he's on point with that. On the flip side, LA has taken it all, so I think they're greedy and they're hungry for it. Um, I'm gonna go against. I'm gonna split the baby, and I'm gonna go. I'm gonna take LA this week, and I am very tepid on, or just kind of barely nudging to lean towards LA. I think it'll be closer than 3.5. It may be like by 1 or 2 points. I think it's gonna be a very close game. So
Well, I
next game.
look forward to disappointing you all next week.
Yep, I know. There you got. Now you have some locker room material. So next game we have Minnesota hosting Vegas, and the Mitch Graw cheerleader for Minnesota. They're giving them 7.5. Mitch, you're up.
Oh my goodness! Like I said, just like I'm sure Barney feels this way, Minnesota frustrates me when I'm trying to make these picks because I keep thinking, all right, here we go, and then woo, another direction. But I'll take Minnesota. I think Minnesota. I mean, I know that, I know they should win this game. Minnesota should win this game, so I'm taking Minnesota.
I should have already had it penciled in because I always know you take them. So Dean.
Well, I think the factor here to be look at what the Vikings offense does against the Vikings defense rather does against the Raiders offense, and the Raiders offense has been very inconsistent at times, and you could say that about the Vikings defense, but I think Barney will get it together in defense, and Minnesota will win and cover the spread on this one.
All right, you're taking Minnesota. I will agree with you, guys, and it's going to be complete across the board. I'm taking Minnesota as well. Uh,
I think I'll probably figure it out that like my two favorite teams besides myself is Minnesota and New Orleans. I couldn't tell you why, but I think it's just I like their style of play. But yeah.
okay. Next game we have Chicago hosting Washington. I think this is another game that could be
Game of the
maybe
week.
maybe a pick 'em or close to it, but I think it's going to be a very good game. They are giving Chicago 4.5. We're gonna go with Mitch again on this.
Yeah, this will be interesting. I know that Chicago they've had a couple of stub toes this year, but they usually show up for these big games. But you know what? So does Jerry. So, geez, you know what? I'm gonna say this is again. This game will be in November. This is a November 1st calendar game based on our in-game calendar. November, Chicago. I'm gonna predict some weather. And we know that the Redskins do not like playing in weather games. So I'm going to give the edge to Chicago.
Okay, Dean.
I'll remind you that the Redskins won in the rain last week, and like I said, I think Washington's on a mission this season. It's going to be a close, tough game, but I think Washington is actually going to win this game and stay undefeated.
Okay. Uh, Normally in past seasons I always pick Chicago. Um, this season, I'm going to go against the grain, and I'm going to take Washington this season. I think they're going to keep that winning streak going. They have something to play for, possibly wanting to go undefeated, and they're going to game plan this out to find a way to beat them. So, next game, we have the New York Giants hosting Detroit, and here is our pick'em game of the week. So it's up to you guys to figure out which way to go. Dean.
Yeah, I think what you have in the Lions here is a team that's very young and very talented on defense, but that young defense has given up some points at times this season against teams that can be opportunistic on offense. And that's exactly what the Giants are with Saquon Barkley and Daniel Jones and some good wide receivers. That offense can score when they get it together. And you could say the Giants defense is a bit suspect, but then again, the Lions offense has not yet put it together yet. This will be a close game, but I think a close Giants win by maybe a field goal at home.
Okay. Mitch.
I'll go with Detroit. I'll say I don't have a reason. I'll just take Detroit.
Um, I'm gonna take Detroit also. I think they're gonna mimic the real Lions right now. They're gonna, yeah. I give it to Detroit. I'm like you, no rhyme or reason, evenly matched, and go with Detroit. Next game we have Atlanta hosting San Francisco, but they are giving the Niners 6.5. Mitch.
Well, Air Charlie has appeared here recently, so if his offense can continue to be explosive, that does not bode well for the Atlanta defense, who's given up the most first downs of any team in the league. So I'm going to go with San Francisco, going with Charlie.
All right. Dean.
Yeah, this is a home game, but the 49ers have been pretty good on offense lately, so this could be a tough matchup. Maybe playing at home might be the issue. So maybe we'll see the upset here.
All right. I'm gonna lean as much as I can't go that route. I'm gonna go with Atlanta. I think that home cooking is gonna help out. I can't go for somebody in my division. At this point, just can't do it. I definitely see Atlanta possibly pulling an upset. So
Remember,
last,
these are predictions, not your wishes.
well, it's a wish and prediction. I predict an upset.
Okay, so you're telling me he's engaging in wish casting.
No,
That's what it sounds like.
it's not a wish casting. I honestly I think that you can pull it off because Charlie.
Witchcraft.
No,
All that
because
witchcraft you've got going
because
on.
in previous
That's
seasons,
understood.
hold up,
Sorry
in
about that.
previous seasons you had those moments, and you guys have said it on the show. You have those moments where Charlie may slip, and he may take someone lightly and they don't properly plan for it. It happened to him a couple times last season, and I think he missed the playoffs. He missed the playoffs last season, didn't he?
Last season, the season before, he was leading for the playoff spot with like 3 or 4 games left, and then went on like a little
and then fell off. Right. So I'm thinking this weekend could be it. There you go.
All right.
Last game, we have Anaheim going into the Pacific Northwest to play the 1-win Seattle Seahawks, and let's see what the Seahawks find in the dumpster this week. So, Dean, you're up. Oh, they are giving Anaheim 7.5.
Actually, I think they're giving you 7.5.
Oh, they're giving me. Whoa, did I look at that? Did I see that wrong?
No, no. Well, I mean, because they're giving you 7.5, still think you're going to lose. Isn't that how it goes?
Well, did I see that?
Something like that.
Ah,
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. They're.
Yeah, I think the Seahawks will continue working on, working on things that will improve. But unfortunately for them, the Rams are doing the same thing and showed it last week. And I think I think the Rams will come out of this one with the win.
Yep. Mitch, what do you got?
you know, you look at the first half of this season, and I know not a lot has gone well for, the Seattle Seahawks. It's been a tough go. I mean, only one win in 7 games. I mean, most men would be like, "I'm done. I'm quitting the league. I'm done with this." But you lace up those boots every week. You make a award-winning podcast. You prepare to win every week. Obviously, not very well. Otherwise, you'd win more games. But you try. You really do try. And when I look at some of these stats that are out
Oh, it's
here,
getting deep.
I look
It's
at some of
getting
these stats.
deep.
When I see the stats, I mean, you lead the league in punt return average, this season at 15-yard average. So you are
Uh-huh.
leading the game in some positive
I'm
category
not
this year.
leading
So,
sacks, so that's good.
I mean, so that is a good thing that's out there. So you know what? As they like to say, every dog has its day. And so I am going to put the lead pipe lock down and say that Seattle is going to defend the Kingdom and win this game this week, just because you got to, something positive's got to happen. So I'm taking Seattle.
Okay.
A couple of quick comments. By the way, I forgot to mention that the Redskins beating Chicago, the Cardinals, is my lead pipe lock of this week.
All
And
right.
Mark, I thought after all this love bombing that Mitch was showering on me, I thought there was going to be a butt at the end of that, but it didn't
Mm-hmm.
come. Oh, you were expecting that too. There's
I
like,
was
yeah,
I was
there's
expecting
going to be
that
a
one.
butt.
Yep.
Well, we didn't hear that.
Uh,
Yep. He definitely
All,
surprised both of us on that one.
all
uh,
love bombing and no butt.
Yep.
there we go.
So, all right, guys, we are wrapping up this show for this week. Best of luck for you guys coming up. Obviously, as Dean has told me before, 9 teams are gonna win, 9 teams are gonna lose. So, you know,
Unless there's a tie.
unless there's a tie. Yep, unless there's a
The
tie.
dreaded turn, if there isn't one.
Yep. So, as we wrap this up this week, we're gonna take one more spin around the table, starting with Dean.
Yeah, I would say we're halfway through the season, and some teams are competing for postseason, and some are, just trying to finish up the season and hoping for better days ahead. Put it that way.
All right, Mitch.
Yeah, this should be a fun second half of the season, and looking forward to it. So let's just get ready and let's get it.